Today is a great day, y'all, because we are talking about Notion today. I started using Notion in like mid-2021. It's been 2 years now that I've been a Notion girly, and I'm through and through a Notion girly. And over the years, my love of it has really just grown. And I use it for so many areas of my life, from tracking empties, making capsule wardrobes, note-taking, content creation, productivity, mental health reasons. There's a lot of great things that I do in Notion. And I shared my first Notion setup back in 2021. Although I am still a Notion girly, a lot has changed about how I use it and what I do with it, what it looks like. So I'm going to be sharing with you my entire Notion setup today. I really like to see how people use things day to day. You know, there's something to be said about seeing somebody's like perfect idealized setup, but how do you go in and use that day to day? Do you use all the aesthetic things that you set up? Are they practical? Are they reasonable? Are they rational? Do they work for you? That's what I want to know. And that's what you're going to be seeing today. Before we get into it, I want to thank Dossier for collaborating with me on today's video. We love Dossier. Dossier is an incredible perfume brand. They are vegan. They are cruelty-free. They reproduce high-end luxury scents, but at a fraction of the price. Their fragrances start at just $29, with the vast majority falling into the $29 to $39 range. I have 2 perfumes to share with you today, and they could not be more different for really fabulous reasons. The first is Aquatic Coconut, and this is inspired by Replica's Beach Walk, which is $102 for the 30 ml bottle, and this is a 50 ml bottle. The second is Powdery Tobacco, this baby right here, and this is inspired by Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanilla. Their 50 ml bottle, same size as this, is $385. Dossier's retails for $39 and Aquatic Coconut retails for $29. Now, Aquatic Coconut is the pure summer vibe. It is truly summer in a bottle. I have been wearing this like a maniac, and this is actually my partner's favorite scent on me. It has a slight sunscreen smell, but just really smells like you're on vacation. Now, Powdery Tobacco is opposite end of the spectrum. Aquatic Coconut is like light, breezy, airy, on a beach, tropical vacation. Love it. Powdery Tobacco is very strong, very fall leaning. The first time I smelled this, I was not prepared because it was like being transported to a cigar club raining at fall time. You're vibing. Dossier describes this as vibing in a cozy cigar lounge, and I could not agree more. This is a really strong, powerful scent, has fabulous lasting power. I've tried 8 fragrances from Dossier now, and I want to give you my standout favorites in a couple of different categories, because I think kind of what you're vibing for you would like some more than others. My favorite subtle scent, like the perfume that is just like a little something, is Woody Sage, this guy right here. It's very light and subtle. My favorite all year round scent, Woody Sandalwood. This is one of the most unique scents I have ever smelled. And this is truly a signature scent. My favorite summer scent is Aquatic Coconut. And then my favorite heavy scent / my favorite fall scent, Powdery Tobacco. Can you tell my excitement for wearing this for fall? I hope you can. If these scents don't appeal to you, that's totally okay, because there are truly so many beautiful, unique scents to shop from on Dossier's website. You can search by scent type or family. You can also search by gender, or if you have a specific scent that you've wanted to try, like Marc Jacobs Daisy, you can search by perfume as well. If you're skeptical about trying a fragrance online, there's no need, because trying a perfume with Dossier is risk-free. They offer no questions asked returns, so if you don't like your scent, you can exchange or return it for free. If you're looking for a new perfume, signature scent, something delicious for fall, then I highly suggest checking out Dossier. They have a welcome offer of 20%, and if you use the code Shauna5, you can get an additional 5% off, 25% off, really, for your first order. Thanks again to Dossier, and let's get into the video. Okay, y'all, welcome to the Notion setup. Welcome to the Notion hub. And here we are. I really like to keep my Notion homepage as simple as possible. It's really, the real estate here is so important, and I've really minimized the number of links to other pages I've had over the years, and I just really want to get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about are the archives. This is a relatively new installation and one that I would highly recommend. All of the pages that you have but you are not using and also don't want to get rid of, you need a home for them. Case in point, the content calendar. I have iterated my content workflow. I do not want to get rid of all of the old databases I have that I've been using for a year and a half. So it just hangs out here. Don't need to clutter up your pages. Well, we'll start with my 3 favorite / most used templates. And the first 2 are really tasks and projects. We'll go to projects first. This is a Notion template that you can just get from the Notion library. However, I've added a lot of my own spin to the cards that pop up, and I've, kind of created a card template. All of the projects that would be in here from me would be created, but you could, do a thesis in here, or you could do a work project. So what I've added, here's what I've done. I've kind of done a little bit of like an intro section talking about like why, project objectives, your budget, due dates, resources, all of that. I've done a timeline here where you can visually see what you're doing. I also have a milestone section, which is something I love because previous to this template, I would just conceive of a project with one milestone, which is the end. When you think about milestones, then you find more opportunities to celebrate your work. It brings a more positive attitude. Like when you look for good things, you'll find them. What I would say most about this template, though, is a change control log. The purpose of the change control log is to really note down times in your project where you're doing kind of a major change. For me, it's usually time extensions. And when you have a log like this, over the course of projects, you will learn how you plan and how you use your time. One thing I see quite frequently in the planner community are people who consistently overestimate their time, but they don't really put in any processes in order to learn from that data to change that habit. Like they're aware that it exists, but they're not really taking any action steps to change it. And that was why it was so important for me to implement something like a change control log. And so just an example of something that I've learned is that tasks that are like really kind of like a critical thinking task, I'll usually estimate something like, 60 minutes or like an hour and a half for that kind of task. That's an underestimation by like 25%, if not 50%. When it comes to thinking tasks, I like to take breaks. So it might ultimately take 3 hours, but I'll do, let's say 45 minutes across 4 days. That's not like 4 hours or 3 hours. That's 4 days because you're not done until the task is done. And then you put all of the little tasks that will ultimately comprise the larger project in the project tasks list. And then this is what you'll see in the task list, but also what you'll see up front. The task list is filtered by project type, and you'll see a few projects here. I'm currently only working on 1. I was previously working on 3 or 4. I haven't touched those other 2 projects since March. So we have a status, date, priority, task type, estimated task in minutes. Now, I put in these 3 columns to see which one would ultimately be more helpful because I wasn't sure. What I found was that priority is kind of useless because priority is basically by date. And what's more important is the task type. And also initially estimating task length was really helpful too in the learning process of like how I plan and use my time. All right, continuing on. I also really love my intentional purchasing tracker. And if you've been on the channel before, this is something that you might have seen around here. It has changed a little bit though over the course of the last handful of years. On the left, we have things I would be interested in purchasing that I'm like trying to keep an eye out for. Some reminders of when I am shopping, what I want to look out for, like cost per wear with clothing, and functional or similar dupes. Down here, I have like a no buy list, things I'm actively not buying, a little reminder. And then we have like all the data up in here, kind of the usual suspects in terms of categories. I also have some things, prompts that I can fill out back here, which is mostly just if I want to add that extra level of intentionality, and some things are more appropriate than others. Like, how would this item impact my life in 2 years? Not really all that applicable to a lip balm, but I can consider this question for something like a duvet cover that I would like to have in 2 years. So if there's one that I have on my list and I can think, well, how will this impact my life in 2 years? Will I have it? Could I see myself living with this thing for 5 years? And then in the other views, I have a saving up list and a yes list. The saving up list is empty because I recently bought the things on my saving up list. And when I buy something, how I filter it is through here. So everything is basically a filter and will take me somewhere else. And then I could see how much money is in each category. The money I saved will filter down here, and then I have like a total number. I haven't updated it since July, I think, or June. So there are some things that I could be adding here for sure. A template like that is super simple to have around. I do have it for sale if you're interested, but you can also create one for yourself. You don't have to go and buy something like this. It really adds a level of intentionality when you desire it to be. All right, into the content pages. These are probably my most used pages, honestly, because I'm in them most days. And I recently revamped my content strategy as part of my 12-week year, or sorry, more so my workflow. And this used to have like 8 or 9 pages in here, and now it just has 2, plus this that I use once a year, and it's just great. So, the content planner. This is where I actually plan the videos and make the calendar. I like to go a month at a time, but it doesn't always shake down that way. And there's different views of the board. I like the calendar the most, but there's also by status. So like where in the process something is, from research, scripting, filming, and then also by table view, which is just kind of more of like a no nonsense table. Down here is just an idea section. So everything in here either has no label or is labeled as an idea. And then I can kind of drag and drop this stuff into its pillar. And whenever I drag and drop something into a pillar, it will give it a content pillar label, which you'll see once we go into one of these examples. Let's go into an example, an empty one. So when you open a template, here's what it looks like. All the stuff at the top is just data. So we have status. This is what I kind of mean by like a status label, where in the process it is, and labeling something will like move it from one kind of filter or view to another. We have filming date, publishing date, audience, either discovery or community. I was watching a video by Ali Abdal, and I've taken some parts of his template and implemented them in here, and I'll link his template in his video in the description. He was talking about discovery and community being like the 2 main types of videos, and having those as something that I consciously think about for each video helps me also consider how I talk about things and why I talk about things. So I like that reframing. Tags, these are kind of more like micro level tags opposed to like a content pillar. So all of these will fall within a specific content pillar. So it's just like kind of fun for data gathering, but it also helps me understand what kind of videos and content I'm making most within a specific pillar. We have my pillars, some values, location of the thing, where is it going. Right now, I just have my YouTube workflow figured out. I'm hoping within the next 2 weeks to integrate other content in here. It's kind of like slow and steady, but I'm right now working on building the foundation more than anything, or more like rebuilding the foundation. So in the template, we have titles. This is a title brainstorm, and the goal is to have at least 5 title options before writing anything. I used to do my titles at the end, and what I found is that it's kind of too late at that point, because sometimes what I've said has just kind of solidified, and that will have some bearing on the title. And I was recently doing a video on minimalism, which you probably won't see yet, And because I played with the title before the content, it actually took a different direction than what I was initially planning for the better. This section in here, I call it the foundation, which really is helping me give more intention to my videos. Basically, why am I making this thing? And hopefully so I can communicate that more clearly in the video. Some scripting stuff. This content remix is from Ali Abdaal himself. And what I like most about this is thinking about how to reuse content or pivot content while you're in the process or while you're in the mindset of the content itself. So one thing I added here is basically a table within a table. The project tracker is a table that we're currently in. And by putting it within the video, what I can do is I can start planning and adding in content of the same type that like I'm iterating from this video. So I can brainstorm ideas and put them in here. You know, I want to, along with my minimalism video, maybe like 1 or 2 days later, I want to create a carousel on Instagram. And then, oh yeah, I want to create a reel. So that's that. The 12-week year is one that I'm going to link the video I have showing this whole template because I go through it much more thoroughly. I've kind of like tweaked my goals a little bit and it's overall a good time. So that whole task database that I've talked about, I've iterated it here. So I changed one of my tasks or one of my projects, to the 12-week year. So it shows up in the project and the task databases. And then we have all of our tasks at the front. So the only ones I filtered for at the time being is a 12-week year is the only project, as well as the GYSD list. This is like my take on the GYST, get your stuff done or get your stuff together list. This is get your stuff done. So this kind of brings me to one of the topics I really want to talk about in this video. So many people like to have like a weekly calendar or weekly schedule on their homepage. I've tried this several times over the last 2 years. This does not work for me. I work a 9-to-5 job, so all the stuff I need to do for that job are at that job in those workflows. What I need in my own life outside of that is usually small things, cleaning this, organizing my closet, filming this video, and I don't need a whole weekly schedule for that. This kind of takes the place of that. So I see it every day, and instead of having to create a whole weekly schedule, a new weekly schedule every week, like creating a new template, writing stuff in, all I need to do is create a new item and put a due date beside it or change the date if I feel so inclined. Because this is more of a to-do list than a planner. To-do listing and planning aren't the same thing, I'm well aware, but this is get your stuff done stuff. This isn't like planning a project stuff. Okay, a couple more things on this side. I have the business hub and the home hoopy. This is something my partner and I have been iterating together. The meal planner is like not really working, but it's here for reference. We have a to-do list. I basically took off all of the assigned to, just like for privacy, but the stuff does have things that are assigned. We also have a to-buy list, things that are like high up on our list, and all the stuff is integrated into like one place just for him and I. We tried a weekly to-do list. Honestly, didn't work. I don't know why it's still here. That's real life for you. And then we have our Google Calendar embedded. This is what we were actually doing. The last thing on this side is the business hub. This is a continual work in progress. Some things I do want to highlight are some backlinks. So to the content pages, the Best Self Workbook, which you'll see, will and won't make chart. Okay, this chart right here. This did so much, like it did so much good for me and thinking about like the direction I want to take the channel. Is this cute or aesthetic? No, but Notion doesn't have to be in order to get goodness from it. And that's what I love about it. Yeah, you can have aesthetic templates, and some of the stuff I have in here are like kind of cute or maybe cuter than other things, but you don't need it to make it work great. And this is kind of what it sounds like. I have categories that I have either made videos on or I've thought about making videos on, and then I have content I will make, won't make in those categories, things I'm not sure about, and just kind of overall thoughts. Some I have more thoughts than others, and I probably will keep this till at least January 2024 as my perspective evolves, and then I can add and detract as I see fit. I have my content pillars in here, and this is, I'm not going to show you because it's like quite personal about like, what are the pillars? Why do they matter to me? What kind of content I want to make in them? Like, why are they here? And just kind of all of that building out, which will stay there indefinitely. And eventually what I want to do is just kind of create some like larger sections within here that I can like pop content into, or some of these pages into, but we're not there yet. And that's also something I want to highlight in this video, is that a lot of times I see people's Notion pages that are so cute, aesthetic, and perfect, but they're not functional, or it's not actually how they're using things, or like you don't see people building stuff out or things, or people like iterating and you don't see the process. This is the process. Let's now go to some project stuff. 2023 projects has kind of honestly like shrunk. It used to be like 10 or 15 pages. Now it's a handful. We have my 2023 panning goals. This is probably not going to change much. If you've seen my video on the makeup era is over, you'll see why. A bunch of this stuff is decluttered. Some of this stuff I just like don't care about anymore. Like I'll finish it when I finish it, but I do like this idea of just like a simple list, like a simple checklist. And again, Notion doesn't have to be pretty to be effective. Yearly empties comparison was something that I did last year. I didn't make this template cute at all because I didn't know if it was going to have legs. If I do decide to do this video this year, then it will probably mean that it will continue in years coming. So I don't know, do something cuter and more aesthetic with this. Empties. In terms of like beauty related content, one of my favorite templates, I used to have like a beauty tracker template, which like I have like one that's linked to my Etsy store, which I can show you, but I removed the one that I was using for myself simply because I just don't want to track my makeup in that way anymore, even though I think it's a useful template. But I'm keeping the empties tracker because when I finish makeup, it will come here. And ultimately what I do think is helpful is having some kind of database where I have my opinion on the stuff that I've tried, which I care about more. So here we have like the default view, which is like everything of the last year. We have it broken down by skincare, makeup, hair care, and then also what I would and would not repurchase. Everything is a star rating, so I can come back if I'm ever not sure how I feel about something and say, you know what, I want to try this Quo foundation. Oh, it was a 3 out of 5, not worth buying. Now, the last kind of things to talk about are some of my lesser used templates, and they're kind of fun, to be honest. We have the intentional purchasing tracker you've already seen. Reading. This one I think is available in Notion. I track my reading in here because personally track on a 10-point scale. I hate a 5-point scale. And I just like having my own little database that is mine. Like if Goodreads ever crashed, I don't know. It just feels a little bit different. I like tracking this stuff myself and kind of keeping the data points that I want. Just find it fun. Also, really fun. A couple years ago, I tried a David's Tea advent calendar and started inputting all of the teas that I've tried with David's Tea. And this, like, I like David's Tea, so now I have this like little library resource that I've compiled when I want to purchase something in the future, or I see something and I'm like, oh yeah, do I like it? Here we go. I have my notes here and everything. I'm showing you this because this is not the stuff that you see in everyone's like aesthetic cute Notion videos. Okay, this template here, I wanted to make a video ranking Story shampoo bars. I was going to buy like 5 or 6, and then I had this whole system laid out here, and it was very much like I spent so much time thinking about how I want to rank them, rate them, and developing this template for it. And one of the things I was ultimately interested in was this question of, can you review anything in like a conscious consumer way? Like, can you be a conscious consumer? Can you call yourself that while also reviewing stuff? That was my question. And so I wanted to review something to get data to, experience it with. The whole video just never went anywhere for a lot of reasons. I don't know. Do you find it fun to like learn about people's projects? Like kind of what had likes and what didn't? Another template that I really, really love. This is like my wardrobe home. And I hope you understand when I talk about this, because I started redoing my Notion a handful of weeks ago, when I was iterating my content creation workflow. But I also decided before that I wanted to basically refresh my Notion, because it had just kind of been in this sorry state for like 9-10 months, like probably since October or November of last year. And I went through everything. I knew what was in there, and put all the stuff I wasn't using in the archives. And then I kind of came to sections like this. And it was interesting to see which templates I wanted to refresh, which ones I wanted to move to the archives, and which ones I wanted that to remain without refreshing. And a lot of the stuff in here was stuff I wanted to leave as is, but not refresh. You don't have to have something that you're using every month or every 2 or 3 months for it to be effective. Right now, I'm in a moment with my wardrobe where I don't really want to think about it all that much. I don't want to create capsules and spend hours planning, my fall capsule or my winter capsule or anything like that. And so there will be a time, I can guarantee you, where I come back and I'm like, you know what, I want to be more thoughtful and I want to be more curatorial about this. I'm going to want a template at that time. This is something I put together in 2021 that I still reference to this day, because it kind of applies, and there's like an overall a good process here. And even though I'm not, creating a wish list specifically for fall time, I have a process if I want to use it. But I find this mood board here so aesthetic, so cute. I really like how this looks. This very much still applies to me. I like still the outfits that I have here, so I can draw inspiration from this. And a lot of this stuff, as I've said, still applies. Maybe not 70, 29, and 1%, but the concepts apply. One template in here that I really love and I can see myself coming back to when the time is right is my wardrobe inventory. This is a template that I really used in order to get to know my personal style. What you actually wear is different than the things that you see on Pinterest or want to be your personal style. Even if you aspire for something else, you need to know where you stand. And this really helped me get to know what I actually wear. And once you learn that, then you can see, is there a bridge or a divide between what you're doing and what you want to do? And then also, can you cross that divide? How much time, attention, and energy do you want to put in, shrinking that divide? So in this template, which also available in the Etsy store, we have there's so much information here that you can glean if you work on it. You have the color, the number of wears, the season, the type, the shape, the price, needs replacing, good quality, ethical. These are questions I was asking, what does good quality mean to me? And over time, as I've worn stuff and I've had things come in and out, I've actually shifted some of my labels on what I call good quality. And also are there exceptions to the rule? Also, cost per wear is just a really fun thing for me to track when you track stuff. And also in terms of season, this helps me filter what is eligible to wear for a season, but also when I'm buying something, I can track, the date that something was purchased. But with season, beyond filtering, one of the criteria that I personally have is for something to be wearable across multiple seasons. That's what makes it a good purchase for me. So if I see that something is only wearable in fall, that's a hard thing to justify. There are certain things that will, of course, apply. So it kind of gives me this idea of like, okay, how much do I own? Like what part of it can be worn for this season? How much of it can be worn across multiple seasons? And, you know, kind of collect that information. I truly love that template, and also showing you a bit of a different lens than what I was just showing you. This summer capsule planner, this maybe planner is the wrong word, should be more of a reflection. I mean, I can use this if I want to, let's say in 2024, well, I'm going to update it this year, but in 2024, I could see the last 2 years and then be like, all right, here's what was working, here's what didn't over the last 2 years. How can I iterate? How can I, you know, move on from here, make better choices this summer, or like, you know, help inform my choices this summer? This is truly just a reflection. We're not at the end of summer yet, so I haven't updated this, but we will. What I do find really telling about like what I liked the most, all of these still favorites in 2023. Still favorites. All of these are still around. What I didn't wear enough, a lot of this is decluttered. I mean, not a lot, but quite a bit. My orange flower blouse decluttered. My Aristocrat t-shirt decluttered. Sarah White statement t-shirt decluttered. All the things I'm thinking about decluttering, I think all of these have been decluttered. I have a link to my style inspiration board. One thing I've been doing this year is more so just like curating the vibe that I want to have at this moment, instead of like, here's my fall 2022 Pinterest board, or like, here's my summer 2023 Pinterest board. I'm just kind of more like, here's what I'm feeling at the moment. My style home, this is something that when I saw, I was like, I think parts of my style are shifting, not necessarily my clothes, but actually my beauty. And there's some things I want to iterate there. And it was actually kind of seeing this list that made me realize that some things are iterating again. I don't need new clothes, not in that sense, but just kind of like how I perceive myself and how I want to operate in this world. My style words are changing. And it's also really interesting to kind of have this iteration, or what I would like actually would be to turn this into a blank template, so I can like put this one in an archive and then create a new one, and then I'll be able to have this archive to look back on to kind of see how things have evolved. My style words of this isn't last fall, but probably like last spring, maybe more like January 2022, probably. Chic, intentional, simple, feminine. That was definitely the vibe of like early 2022. I also have an outfit log, and there's lots of things you can do in a wardrobe home. I actually don't see people using Notion for like wardrobe stuff, so I really wanted to make sure I share that today. The last couple of things, the journal home. The daily activities log is something I'm currently doing right this second that I'm not going to show you because the video is coming on it soon. Values declaration is like a personal project, a journal, and like feelings logs, all personal projects. The one thing I can share from here is something I call my toolbox. This is like a space, honestly, for incorporating mental wellness into my life and having a space to remember things. How many times have you, let's say, like gone to therapy and have been given homework, or you found some mindful exercises to do that like will help you if you're not in a mentally well state, or you're feeling particularly negative, or you're feeling down on yourself? I have all of this knowledge that I've acquired over the years, but I don't use it because I forget about it. So I have this place where I have all of my worksheets, all of my activities when I need them, and they're at my disposal. Because I did all this work at one point and I got all this knowledge, and then like it becomes out of practice when you don't use it. So a couple of examples of things that are in here: this automatic thought exercise. And by the way, a lot of these are going to look empty because I'm not going to share my literal thoughts. So this is like really simple where we have the trigger, the thought, and then a new thought. One that I do keep on here from 2021 is one that is just a reminder to me about how our beliefs aren't actually reality a lot of the times. I thought back in 2021, my very first Vlogmas that I did was a huge flop. I was so hard on myself and down about it. Like, oh my God, this sucks. I suck. This Vlogmas is gonna flop hard. It was super successful. And when I look back, I'm like, damn, like I crushed it. I'm so proud of myself. Yet in the moment, I was feeling so down about it. And this, whenever I see it, is just a reminder of that fact. Not so much how far I've come, but also sometimes how our perception is truly not reality and that it does change over time. There's a lot of great worksheets in here. Things like challenging negative thoughts, and I can just create a new template. Well, I have templates up in here that I can create a new one every time I feel so inclined. These are just the templates here. And then something I call the Best Self Workbook. This one I don't work on all that much. It's kind of every now and then because these tend to be larger noodling tasks where I'll think about like, what does it mean for me to have confidence? What kinds of things I want to explore in that realm? Like, what are my values? How do I determine that? What's my process going to be for figuring that out? When I was doing the 12-week year, how I figured out my values was through something that I created in here. I think you could just conceive this as a journal, and it's not totally different from a journal, but the topics that I put in here, the topics I think about and how I think about them are very specific. And this is ultimately a positive place, usually not a brain dumping place, but ultimately this place where I'm looking to better myself and my life and how I think. And every time I come in here, I find it like more uplifting and like inspiring or empowering versus going to my journal, which has more of like maybe a negative or brain dumpy kind of connotation. It's much more thoughtful and intentional. So this is it. This is the tour. This is the full setup of how I use Notion. And I hope that it was useful to you to kind of see what somebody's life in action looks like. And I hope that it helps you think about and create some stuff for your own personal page. I will link what I can in the description. I have some public templates. I have some paid templates. I'll also link stuff to other creators who've inspired this kind of whole setup, and do with that what you will. Before we leave, I'd like to thank Dossier for partnering with me on this video. If you would like to get an extra 5% off your order, use the code Shauna5, especially if you're looking for something, a new fragrance, a new signature scent, this upcoming fall season. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. I loved talking Notion with you today. It's a favorite thing of mine. I'm a Notion girly through and through. Thanks for watching.